Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So the surprises from Strixhaven spoiler season just keep coming today. If you haven't seen my most recent episode on the very first any number in your deck sorcery, make sure you check that out. Yeah, I know that title's kinda weird, but basically it's a Shadowborn Apostle, Persistent Petitioners, Relentless Rats kind of card. You know what I mean. But if you don't, check it out and then you'll understand. And today we also got a mana rock that can win you the game. And that is a phrase that I never imagined that I would say. But just recently, we got what is perhaps the most explosive Strixhaven card yet. This card can do some incredibly powerful and broken things in Commander out of absolutely nowhere. Now before I get further into this episode, a huge thank you to Eddie for all the help on this one. Well, and all the other ones too. But especially on this one because while I was working on the previous episode, Eddie was working on cards for this one. So if I make any mistakes on this one, just remember it's Eddie's fault. Just kidding. Kind of, but not really. Okay, anyways, let's jump into it. So Strixhaven's most explosive card yet is Augmenter Pugilist. Just kidding, that's just the front of this card, but I'm still gonna go over it. So the MDFC front and side is Augmenter Pugilist, a 3/3 troll druid that has trample that costs 1 green. It says as long as you control 8 or more lands, Augmenter Pugilist gets +5/+5. So yeah, a 3 mana, potentially 8/8 with trample can be a really good thing, but it's nowhere near the most explosive card of this set. In order to see that, we need to flip this card over to the backside and talk about Echoing Equation. It's a sorcery for 3 blue, and it says choose target creature you control. Each other creature you control becomes a copy of it until end of turn, except those creatures aren't legendary if the chosen creature is legendary. Now we have seen this type of effect before, but not with that last bit about except those creatures aren't legendary. In a format like Commander, that changes everything. Turning every single one of your creatures into your Commander is absolutely busted with a lot of Commanders out there. This is basically what Helm of the Host wants to do, but it gets it right away. Now granted, you do need other creatures in play for this to be effective, but you're gonna be able to do that in a lot of decks. And still, even just an initial copy or 2 of your Commander can be incredibly effective, and getting even more of that gets out of control incredibly quickly. So let's talk about some Commanders that can do some really explosive and broken things with this card. Again, I'm not gonna be able to cover all of them, and if I make any mistakes, remember, blame Eddie. So again, this card is in green and blue, so let's start with some Simic Commanders like Kinnan Bonder Prodigy. It says whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. So yeah, getting multiple copies of this can get absurd. Let's say that you cast Echoing Equation and now you've got 5 Kinnans in play. All of your mana rocks now tap for 5 additional mana. And of course you can dump all that mana into Kinnan and get more non-human creatures off the top of your library, and things get out of control pretty quickly. Speaking of things getting out of control, there's everyone's favorite card from Standard, and other formats as well, Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath. Actually, to be honest, when Eddie put this one on the list, I was confused. I thought to myself, why does it matter if this just has an ETB trigger? Well, the thing is, I forgot that this also has an attack trigger, which is just ridiculous. Yeah, there's a reason this is banned in Standard, Pioneer, Modern, and Historic. Regardless, when it does attack, you gain 3 life, draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So you turn all your creatures into Uros, you swing out, you gain a ton of life, draw an absurd amount of cards, put a ton of lands into play, and oh yeah, you're just hitting everyone with 6/6s. And of course, if we're talking about Simic Commanders that love lands, we have to bring up Tatyova Benthic Druid. Tatyova has whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. If you have multiple creatures in play and you cast Echoing Equation on this, it's probably game over. Okay, so now I've got 5 Tatyovas in play. I'm going to play my Evolving Wilds, gain 5 life, draw 5 cards. I'm going to sacrifice my Evolving Wilds, go get another land, another 5 life, another 5 cards. Now let's cast Harrow. Okay, I'll sacrifice 1 land, I'll go get 2, I'll gain 10 life, draw 10 cards. You can see where this is going, and it's not good for your opponents. And of course, in a similar way, there's the somewhat Tatiova clone with Aisi, Tyrant of Gyre Strait. It draws you a card when lands come into play, and then also says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. So with 5 ACs in play, you get 5 extra land drops, and each time you do, you're drawing 5 cards. So yeah, you just drew 25 cards, and yeah, there are plenty of ways to ramp further and win from there. But now that we've had fun with our 2-color commanders, it's time for us to move on to 3-color commanders, starting off with Zyrus the Writhing Storm. Zyrus is a 3/5 flying snake leviathan, because yes, that's a thing. Actually thinking about it now, why isn't it just a serpent? I mean, when it comes to Sea Monster Tribal, you've got leviathans and serpents are basically just snake leviathans already. Okay, anyways, it says, whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw on each of their draw steps, create a 1/1 green snake creature token. And then whenever Zyrus the Writhing Storm deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each draw that many cards. So Zyrus is already a token-generating commander. So chances are by the time you cast Echoing Equation, you're going to have a lot more than just 5 creatures out there. But even if you only have 5, let's just go through a quick scenario. You cast 1 wheel that makes everyone discard their hand and draw 7 cards. With your 5 Zyruses in play, you are going to be making 35 snakes. Then you attack with your 5 Zyruses. That's going to be 15 damage in total. Just to make this explanation slightly easier, let's just say you did all 15 damage to one opponent. You and that opponent are each drawing 15 more cards. And because that opponent just drew 15 more cards, you are getting 15 more snakes. So you just created 50 snakes out of nowhere and drew 15 cards. And again, that is a low-end estimate of how many creatures you're going to have in play to start. Let's just say there's a reason that you usually can't copy legendary creatures. But perhaps the commander that demonstrates this the most is Yarok. Yarok the Desecrated has, if a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Again, let's just say that you've got 4 other creatures in play and you cast Echoing Equation. I don't even want to try to figure out exactly what happens if you say cast a Springbloom Druid and you sacrifice a land and then you get more lands and then you have landfall triggers. You just win, okay? You win. For all you mathematicians out there, please let me know exactly how many lands you get and how many creatures you get with something like Zendikar's Royal when that happens. Thank you. Anyways, let's move on to something that is a lot less confusing with Jorn, God of Winter. Whenever Jorn attacks, you untap each snow permanent you control. So essentially with multiple copies of Jorn, you're going to be untapping your snow basics multiple times. So with a ton of lands and an instant speed X spell, fun times are had by all, or probably just you, but still, fun. And speaking of fun, let's talk about everyone's favorite Muldrotha the Gravetide. She has, during each of your turns, you may play up to 1 permanent card of each permanent type from your graveyard. Or if you've got 5 of these, how about 5 of those each? Yeah, that's pretty busted. But if you like making a ton of zombies, there's Sidisi Brood Tyrant. When she attacks, you mill 3. And whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So again, say that you've got 5 copies of this. By attacking, you're going to mill 3 5 times for a total of 15 cards. For the sake of ease, let's just say that you hit a creature in each of those sets of 3. Each Sidisi is going to create 5 2/2s. So that's 25 2/2 zombies or 50 power in total. And that's just from the attack triggers. Sidisi decks have a ton of other ways to mill multiple times in a turn, so yeah, you're going to make an absurd amount of zombies and win from there. Next up, let's talk about Zexar the Exemplary. It has tap, add 2 mana of any one color, and whenever you cast a spell with X in its mana cost, create a 0/0 green Hydra creature token, then put X++1 counters on it. So first off, by making your other creatures copies of this, you're essentially netting mana. And then you make an incredible amount of Hydras when you cast your X spells. Pretty brutal. But probably not anywhere near as brutal as Tulane, Teller of Tales. It says whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So you get 5 of these, you draw 5 cards, and you can put 5 lands onto the battlefield. Yeah, you're going through your entire deck. And for our last 3-color commander, let's talk about Derevi. Derevi has whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may tap or untap target permanent. So again, let's just say that we've got 5 Derevis on the field. We swing and we hit a player with all 5 of them. We can tap or untap 25 permanents. So wrap your head around that. Next up, let's move on to 4-color commanders, starting off with Atraxa Praetor's Voice. So now you've got 5 flying vigilance, death touch, life-linking angels. Oh, and by the way, at the beginning of your end step, you proliferate 5 times. But next up, we've got the even more ridiculous Yidris Maelstrom Wanderer. It says, when it deals combat damage to a player, as you cast spells from your hand this turn, they gain Cascade. So again, let's just say that you've got 5 of these, and each of them hits an opponent. Your spells now cascade 5 times. Apex Devastator, eat your heart out. yeah, you're probably just going to be casting your entire library. And in a similar way, we've got the first sliver. It says sliver spells you cast have Cascade. So again, now your sliver spells are Cascade 5 times. And unlike Yidris, this lets you Cascade outside of just casting from your hand. So again, when you Cascade into a sliver, you Cascade 5 more times on that. Yes, this one is definitely casting your entire deck. Or if you want to go into a different sliver direction, you can go with Sliver Legion. It says all sliver creatures get +1/+1 for each other sliver in play. So yeah, there's that. But one of my favorites has got to be the very friendly Reaper King. It has other Scarecrow creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever another Scarecrow comes into play under your control, destroy target permanent. Again, let's just assume you've got 5 of these now. All your Scarecrows get +5/+5, so all those Reaper Kings are now 11/11s. But more importantly, whenever you have any other Scarecrow come into play, you're destroying 5 permanents. So yeah, let's cast some Scarecrows and blow up everything. Or how about the Ur-Dragon, which says, whenever one or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards, then you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So 5 10/10 flying Ur-Dragons are attacking. You draw 25 cards, and you can put 5 permanents directly into play. Oh, and by the way, your dragon spells also cost you 5 less to cast. But next up, let's talk about Najeela the Blade Blossom. She has, whenever a warrior attacks, you may have its controller create a 1/1 white warrior creature token that's tapped and attacking. So, 5 Najeelas, all attacking. Each of them creates 5 warriors that are tapped and attacking. That's 25 warriors in total. But look, we also have Wooburg, so let's activate that ability. Untap all attacking creatures. They gain trample, lifelink, and haste until end of turn. After this phase, the initial combat phase, activate this only during combat. So we untap our now 30 warriors, and let's attack again. We just created 150 more warriors that are tapped and attacking. But the final commander that I want to talk about is our most recent 5-color commander from Strixhaven with Cody. Now, if you haven't seen my episode on Cody, make sure you check that out, though the application for that episode is a lot different than this one. Cody has, you can't cast permanent spells, pay 4 and tap it, add Wooburg. When you cast your next spell this turn, exile cards to the top of your library until you exile an instant or sorcery card with lesser mana value. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put each other card exiled this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. So again, let's say that you've got 5 Codys in play. You pay 4 and you tap it to add Wooburg. You use 4 of that mana to tap another one, and another 4 to tap another one, and so on and so forth. So now let's say you cast a spell. You exile cards to the top of your library until you get an instant or sorcery with lesser mana value. You cast that spell, and then you get to do it again, and again, and again, and again. So yes, even a commander like Cody can really utilize this card. So now let's wrap things up, and I'll give you my final thoughts on Echoing Equation. A lot of decks and a lot of commanders have been waiting for a card like this. Again, with just a little setup, this can be a game-breaking card. It can certainly lead to some incredibly exciting and explosive plays. And for all the commanders that I didn't mention that could really utilize this, make sure you let me know in the comments below. I covered quite a few, but I am sure there are a lot more. So again, thank you in advance for helping me out, and again, a huge thank you to Eddie for helping me with this episode. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.